Today, I'm going to share with you 6 livable countries that we don't talk about a lot to give you more countries to consider on top of the ones that we discuss a lot. And I want your feedback here. I want you to leave a comment on livable countries that you've spent time in, that you're interested in, that you want us to talk about more. Leave a comment below. And right now, we're going to share 6 countries that I think you should consider as a nomad capitalist. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson, the author of the book that you see in the background called Nomad Capitalist, available on Amazon. I'm also the founder of Nomad Capitalist, where we help successful entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best. That includes finding great places to live that help them save on taxes and expand their freedoms and their options. And we talk a lot about many different countries here on our channel and on nomadcapitalist.com, but I wanted to find 6 new ones. I wanted to talk to some friends of mine. I wanted to dig deep into my past experiences and my travels and share with you some places that we don't give enough attention to. That's where I want you to come in and leave a comment. What are the countries that you find interesting and why? What are the places that you think we should talk about more and why? I want to hear from you. And the first country we've talked about a little bit, but I think deserves more attention, is Mexico. Many people, especially people in the United States, who are almost propagandized against Mexico, do not realize how diverse, how free, how lovely life in Mexico can be. Not only do Mexicans have one of the great passports, okay, they are not the poor country that many people in the United States want to make them out to be. But it's a great place to live and to spend time. And while there certainly are areas that you probably don't want to go, there are very safe cities like Merida. There are places in Mexico City that are quite safe. There are beaches, not only the traditional Cancun and Playa del Carmen, where we're hosting our live conference. Tulum has become increasingly popular. You've got places on the West Coast like Puerto Vallarta. And so Mexico, to me, is one of those countries that's so big, so diverse, there's something for everybody. And what's also nice is, particularly as a backup plan, you've got so many places to go to where if you need to spend time in the country for whatever reason, you've got a lot of things you can do within the country. And so you don't feel trapped the way you might, if you lived in a very small country. If you lived in, Singapore, for example, people say, oh, I feel so trapped. Well, what happens if there's, a lockdown or something? In Mexico, you've got a lot of room to roam. I think it's very livable, great food, great people. Let's talk about country number 2, Costa Rica. Now, a lot of retirees have been going to Costa Rica for years. I remember sitting on a flight before I was ever even thinking about nomad capitalist stuff. One of my first trips, I think I was flying domestically. I sat next to a woman who basically was doing visa runs from Costa Rica. She would go and live there for 90 days, come back, see some family, go back to Costa Rica. Obviously, the days of visa runs have ended in a lot of countries. But Costa Rica is a country that I think serves a lot of people because they've got a relatively free mindset, laissez-faire culture. You can immigrate there if you have some money in the bank or you're willing to make an investment. You've got beautiful beaches, just very peaceful surroundings. They've developed this great brand of eco-tourism, eco-living, and you've really got a lot of beautiful areas. And so for someone who perhaps, Mexico is a bit too much for them, they're not really so sure about Panama. Panama, to me, parts of it are a little boring. But Costa Rica, if you're not looking to do a ton of traveling to where you're always flying in and out because you're not going to live in San Jose, there are a lot of great places to live. And it's a place where you can largely be left alone. It's a bit elevated for people, especially who are families, above a lot of the other Central American countries. I find Nicaragua very interesting as an up-and-coming place. I've been saying that for years. Areas like San Juan del Sur in the south, which are that particular city is very near Costa Rica. Other areas in the north of Nicaragua are up and coming, but it doesn't have quite the prestige. It doesn't have quite the sense of freedom, I don't think, as Costa Rica has. And I think Costa Rica is a country that for some people is very interesting. What's also interesting is they were the first country in Central America to legalize same-sex relationships. And so if that's your situation, that makes it certainly a standout country for that. One other country in the Americas that I find very interesting, and we haven't really talked about a lot, is people have said, Andrew, check out the Dominican Republic. And this is a place that you have people from Europe, people from Eastern Europe, people from the United States and Canada going there. It's been a popular destination for tourists, but it's also become a very popular destination for low-cost real estate on the beach. You can go and you can get a residence permit. The citizenship process, very Byzantine in my opinion. I've been hearing that for years. I've personally experienced it. But if you want to live somewhere and you want to live on the beach and you want something that's affordable and a little bit off the beaten path for many expats, you can go and you can do that in the Dominican Republic. And I think similar to Mexico perhaps is that it has this reputation. Now, it does not have a very good passport, unlike Mexico. But in terms of the Caribbean, I think they actually have a better standard of living than some places, and you can have a very good standard of living there yourself, and it makes it worthy of talking about as a place where you can go and have a great life. In Europe, one country we haven't talked about a lot, although I have worked with some folks that we help to add it to their plans, is Cyprus. Now, you've heard me talk about Montenegro and Serbia, and even beachfront properties in Albania, the Greek Golden Visa program. We haven't talked a lot about Cyprus. Cyprus is a relatively livable place. There's different vibes in Cyprus. You can go to Limassol, have the marina vibe, a bit more prestigious, something like a Porto Montenegro in Montenegro. You can go to Paphos and have this kind of villa lifestyle up on the hills. Very different environments. You can go to the capital, and it's a whole different vibe. And so in this island, not only can you get residence by investment by buying property, not only can you get citizenship by investment by buying a lot of property and now making a donation, but I think for someone who, again, maybe doesn't want to travel a lot, but they want to live in Europe, what people don't actually realize is if you're willing to live in Cyprus, you can theoretically work towards citizenship. I'm not sure that always works out, but not by investing, but just by buying the real estate and just living there and becoming naturalized. But definitely a place that's calm. If you live in the right place, I think pretty safe. And it's a very interesting place with a mix of cultures. I think for me, it has some elements of Georgian culture, the kind of the Caucasian culture. It feels a little like Georgia in some ways. You can go up into the hills, you can go up into the mountains and eat in these kind of stone ruin restaurants. But there's just some really interesting things. You also get kind of that Southern European culture, and just very interesting place. In Asia, two countries we don't talk about a lot. Number one is the Philippines. I know a lot of people have asked me, why don't you talk about the Philippines more? And indeed, if you're 35 years or older, they have the SRRV residence program. You can go and get a very tax-friendly residence program. You don't really need to live in the Philippines to have it. You do need to be 35, and you do need to have a small bank deposit to put in the bank. Many parts of the Philippines, people would say, well, this isn't so livable, but there certainly are places. There are places in Manila. Makati is the old school place. I think certainly Bonifacio Global City has become the new livable place that in some areas feels like Singapore. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but I have friends who are living there now, and they say, yeah, everything's tremendous. We have our Americanized restaurants. It really feels comfortable here. Parts of Cebu, there are beaches on the island of Cebu. I've been to Davao. Don't find that quite as interesting, quite frankly. But if you're looking for a high-level lifestyle, you can create that in the Philippines. And I think that perhaps the Philippines should focus on promoting those places more. I think they may be promoting them within Asia, that kind of lifestyle to people. But certainly has not been the best place to be in the year 2020 in terms of all the Asian countries. But if you're just looking for general livability in a normal year, the Philippines is a country that we don't talk about. A lot of people are interested in. It's always been good for retirees. And I think if the Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore circuit doesn't suit you, it's certainly another viable option in Southeast Asia. And the last country, the sixth country that we don't talk about a lot, we've done a lot of research on this, we've occasionally discussed it with someone, but that's South Korea. We haven't talked about it a lot. And I think that while Japan is difficult from a tax perspective, difficult from an immigration perspective, I know a couple people who live in Japan basically on visa runs, and they have a very interesting immigration and tax system for people who do visa runs, but one that concerns me. I think in East Asia, if you like that more northern climate, that more northern culture, to me in Asia, it's not entirely different than Europe, where the more northern climates, it's more of a hard work culture, whereas people in the South are a bit more laid back. South Korea has that. Obviously, the language barrier is an issue. That can be an issue. However, there are parts of Seoul that I've been in where you can get by all right with English. Certainly not the easiest language to learn. but I think a relatively livable place. It would not be number one on my list. I do think for like a vacation or a holiday, Japan is probably more interesting, but I find South Korea perhaps more of a livable place, kind of a long-term place to live, particularly as an expat. I know there's some expats where they say when you really get into the thick of things, I think you could say that about any place. You know, when you talk to long-term 10, 20-year expats who are really integrated, of course they start to see the flaws, but there are flaws everywhere. And I think that if you want that more Northern Asian experience, South Korea offers it. They have a high-level immigration program for people who can invest from $400,000 to $500,000 up into the seven figures, depending on which option you choose. And I think it's a country that at least should be on your radar if you're looking for a very well-developed, very well-run Asian country. You don't like the southern climate. Sometimes people come to me and say, Andrew, I know most everyone you talk to likes warm weather. I don't like warm weather. I've had people like that. Andrew, please, cooler weather, temperate climates. South Korea might be one place worth considering. So, what are your thoughts on those 6 places? I'm sure there are some that we could talk about further, some of these that you'd like explored further, some that you think I've missed. Leave a comment below. I want to hear what you think about the hidden gems that we're not talking about. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.